Well, hello everyone, this is CJ with Cyclotron. I haven't done a channel update for a while, so I think this would be a good time to do one. About a month ago, I posted a video about how Harley Davidson should F off in my top viewed video to date since starting the channel a little over 2.5 years ago. So in about a month's time, it's up to over 70,000 views and well over 1,000 comments. So if you're new to this channel, welcome. And to those of you who have been with me for a while, regular viewers and commenters, thank you very much. I really appreciate all the engagement we've had over the months. This is what really makes it fun for me. I don't have any sponsorships at this time. I'm not saying I never will have any sponsors, but that's not my priority. And for that reason, I'm not beholden to anybody. I can talk about a variety of topics and not worry about will they invite me out to a big launch event or anything of that nature. Things that could co-opt your objectivity. I love all types of motorcycles. I've been riding for over 40 years. Metrics, Harleys, you name it. But I want to address not so much the topics raised by the commenters in that last video, but the common theme that runs through them. So there's probably been a lot of people who have dropped in and their first experience on the channel was this Harley video. And of course, I often get accused of being a Harley hater. Whether they know I have a Harley or not, it kind of doesn't matter. Some people don't seem to separate how Harley Davidson operates as a company or how many of their dealers are behaving these days in a pretty shady manner. And that's separate from the reality of owning and riding Harley Davidson motorcycles. So my most viewed videos for the most part have all been related to the topic of Harley Davidson company or motorcycles in some fashion. But I have absolutely no intention of making this a Harley channel. But of course, if I wanted to cater to the algorithm, that's all I would do. But that's not my thing. I have much broader interests. In particular, I'm a business person. I'm interested in business topics. I like to experience various aspects of motorcycling. I've got thoughts about riding, gear, different bikes, different manufacturers, different aspects of the riding culture, how different companies practice their business. It's interesting to me. And Harley Davidson is particularly interesting because of their long history, their dominance in the United States, their intersection with various aspects of American culture. Of course, that's been exported around the world. These are all very interesting topics to me. For example, I love Suzuki motorcycles, Yamahas. I can appreciate Indian motorcycles. I've been close to buying one in the past, but in general, those companies aren't nearly as interesting as Harley Davidson. You know, you could love them, you can hate them, but they certainly are interesting. So I can't just stop talking about Harley Davidson, but I'm certainly good for a while. That last video was sort of my mic drop moment. But it does amaze me though when some people say they can't relate when they hear about others saying they've had a bad experience at a Harley Davidson dealership or with a particular Harley Davidson motorcycle. And most issues people have seem to involve being treated with a total lack of respect, or as if they had zero intelligence when it comes to making a motorcycle purchase. That's how a lot of people have been treated, just judging from the comments in my own experience, by various salespeople and just the overall dealership atmosphere. So in essence, Harley Davidson represents a dialectic to me. At least many of the key aspects of Harley Davidson represent a dialectic. That is, two seemingly opposite things being true at the same time. So let's take the fact that I love Harley Davidson motorcycles. It's a different riding style. I appreciate that riding style and experience, but I understand it's not for everybody. But it doesn't mean it's an invalid experience. So you can appreciate or love Harleys or riding Harleys. I actually hate how many of these dealers operate. The fact that the corporate management's all a bunch of suits. You know, it's a publicly traded company who's ruthlessly pursuing the bottom line, which is their job. That's their rightful priority, is make as much money for their shareholders as possible. And that's what they try to do. But the thing is, Harley Davidson has broader responsibilities, I think, just given their history. So to me, that stuff's interesting. And when people say it doesn't happen, that there are crummy dealers or they've been treated shabbily by salespeople at a Harley dealership, because from their perspective, they've had great experiences, which I'm sure they've had. But I'm pretty sure they've happened. I actually answered one guy in the comment section. I said, well, you know, I've never seen a meteorite impact, but I believe they've happened. So another topic I'm interested in is I like to read. And some of my reading lately has involved books that were translations from pretty old writings from over 2,000 years ago. Greeks and Romans. topics from a more philosophical viewpoint, and those old ideas are still fresh. And in fact, if you read these modern translations, you wouldn't necessarily know that this content was created over 2,000 years ago. So you take people like the Stoics and other branches of philosophy. My son actually read a book recently by Sextus Empiricus. Awesome name. He kind of gave me the thumbnail version of that book. The book is about skepticism. And the whole idea is that you should suspend judgment and just take in the information. Now, in the modern world, you just can't be a blank slate or a sponge and completely suspend judgment. At some point, you have to make a decision and move forward. But to the extent that you can delay making a judgment, you leave yourself open to learning new things and encountering things that you might not have otherwise expected to encounter. So I guess I wouldn't go so far as to call people who deny bad behavior about Harley-Davidson Harley deniers, or certainly not modern skeptics. And then there's a lot of comments about, people just flat hate Harleys. And this certainly isn't an I hate Harley channel. But I can certainly understand why people would be pissed about some of the experiences they've had around Harley culture or various Harley dealerships. And there's people who've only ridden metrics and love them and can't even fathom why someone would want to own or ride a Harley-Davidson. I get that too. I mean, I rode metrics exclusively for over 30 years. I'm fairly new to owning a Harley. And that's mostly because the first Harley I tried to buy was at a dealership where they all acted like complete jerks. But if you look at the difference in attitude, it's sort of like asking which is better, a hamburger or a hot dog. Without much context, I'd say most Americans would prefer a hamburger. But if you factor in things like eating at different venues, say like at a baseball stadium or at a picnic or other outdoor events, probably a hot dog would win out. And I kind of feel like that about Harley-Davidson. It's a different riding experience, more relaxed, has a different rhythm. Harley with their Livewire had a feature called hepatic heartbeat, I think they called it, which is basically the feel of riding the motorcycle, how your body perceives different aspects of that experience. So that could certainly be a different experience based on the type of motorcycle you're riding. Now, let's say I'm riding my 2020 Suzuki Katana. Now, the experience of riding that motorcycle is extremely smooth and responsive. It's really effortless to ride. I mean, this street glide's smooth, but it's heavy. It's 830 pounds. I mean, it's really made for long distance riding. I mean, I certainly ride it locally. That's what I've done mostly with it over the last couple of years. But this thing's really made for long trips. But it's different. Riding one particular brand of bike isn't necessarily better or worse than riding a different brand of motorcycle. There's an old expression that says comparison is the thief of joy. And for some people, the idea that someone else's motorcycle might be better than their motorcycle in some way, it's really a false comparison. Some people get really defensive about that, and it might have to do with the kind of money they're paying for bikes these days. But I don't know, I think some people are just too emotionally involved with some of their major purchase decisions. I've known people who had vehicles that were constantly breaking down. I've talked to people who've had certain vehicles, they've had 3 different transmission replacements, a couple of engine rebuilds, and they still love it. They think it's just fantastic. So you can be accommodating if you like the vehicle or the experiences you've had with that vehicle. And I think that concept applies to various motorcycles as well. Now, for people who really don't like Harleys at all, they seem to not understand how somebody would pay so much money for something that seemingly is outdated, outmoded, underpowered, as they say, maybe archaic in terms of design. But again, those are false comparisons because it's a different riding experience. And so to each his own. And when it even comes to, well, here's another topic, I don't like dealers that gouge people. They're selling 25% over MSRP. And people are quick to say, they're independent dealers. This is America. This is capitalism. They got to get their money when they can because they don't know when times are going to turn. I get all that. I just don't think it's a good long-term strategy. And if everything was just freewheeling capitalism all the time, how about the next time you go to Walmart, there's no price tags on anything, like they do at some dealerships with their motorcycles. They'll put the prices on the website. So let's say you go to Walmart Maybe you've looked at their website, maybe you haven't. You fill up your cart, you go to the cashier, and you wait to see what the prices are when they ring it up. You know, maybe it's a slow week for them, or maybe it's a busy week and there's a lot of demand. Can the cashier or manager decides, they're going to sell each item for 25% over the price posted on their website? Or how about if you go to McDonald's and you order a quarter pounder? And let's say you go in at lunchtime and you pay a much higher price than, say, you pay at 8 p.m. Variable pricing based on almost really the whim of the people in charge, or really what the market conditions are at the moment. That would get old pretty quick. That's my point. There's a certain amount of friction that goes along with any transaction. And there's certainly a lot of friction right now associated with buying a motorcycle. I think with any type of dealer or any brand of motorcycle right now, some more than others. Bikes are still in high demand. The supply chain's still kinked. Another thing that's happened is that motorcycle manufacturers and dealerships tend to follow what's already happened in the automotive world. And in the United States, a lot of vehicle dealers are bound by a lot of squirrely laws, franchise laws that really are protectionist for their businesses. And it's certainly not like that with other consumer products. For example, in some cases, you can't buy a vehicle on Sunday in, say, Missouri. So there's a lot of rules that are just strictly protectionism for the dealers. I think the car manufacturers will be the first to break the back of these franchise laws, and they'll probably do it with their all-electric subsidiaries, because these electric vehicle manufacturers aren't bound by these franchise rules in most cases. I mean, that's why you can buy a Tesla directly from them and have it delivered to your house, not even go through a dealer. Now, Harley has their own electric division. It wouldn't surprise me at one point that they decide to burn their dealers when they don't serve as much use to them as Harley could benefit by direct-to-consumer motorcycle sales. There's nothing to stop Harley Davidson from selling an internal combustion engine motorcycle from the Livewire company, as far as I could tell. A lot of these dealerships are probably going to go away and just be service centers for maintenance and repair. It's entirely consistent with Harley's practices. I mean, they just slammed shut about 100 dealerships here in the last couple of years, and most of them were mom and pops. But again, if the day comes when these dealerships aren't as effective in moving motorcycles as a Harley could be with selling the bike directly to the consumer, that's when things will change. But anyway, I thank everyone for viewing and commenting on my videos. I really enjoy the interaction. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments section, and if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. And also, if you have any particular ideas about motorcycle content that you would like me to cover, please let me know on that. So, thanks for again, everyone, and please stay tuned.